Hi, I'm Jeff Dixon. The year is 2003. The astronauts on the International Space Station conduct an experiment to see whether a boomerang will return to its thrower in microgravity. And so, because the experiment parameters were set, the astronauts reared back and threw the boomerang into the weightlessness of space. And the boomerang came back. What? That didn't happen, did it? Well, believe it or not, the scenario I just laid out to you, it did happen. It was a fascinating experiment that took place on the International Space Station. It happened in 2003. They conducted an experiment to see whether a boomerang would fly in microgravity. The results, it came back. And it demonstrated that the principles of aerodynamics still apply, even in space, although there are some differences due to the lack of gravity. The physics behind the whole problem is simply this. A boomerang relies on its shape and the spin imparted when it's thrown. The microgravity, while the lack of gravity changes the environment, the rotational forces that are still working enable it to return. And the absence of gravity, meaning other forces such as the interaction with air, moving through that microgravity environment, remain crucial. That means the boomerang, they discovered, still experiences lift and drag, allowing it to function as it was intended. See, the experiment was done on purpose, not as a joke, not as to clown around, but to test physical laws, but also served as an example of human ingenuity and the quest for understanding the universe. Even in an unfamiliar environment, fundamental principles still remained constant. So what do we learn from that? If it really did happen, and it did, then we can learn some lessons that apply to our life even now. First of all, just as a boomerang returns, this symbolizes the idea that our actions, whether good or bad, eventually come roaring back our way. Your choices matter. And we, because we make choices, don't make those choices and walk away scot-free, even though it looks like it sometimes. The ripple effect of those choices always come back. The successful flight of the boomerang in microgravity teaches us about being adaptable. See, life often presents challenges that seem insurmountable and on the surface don't make sense. Because if I were to ask you, before you heard the results of the experiment, if you throw a boomerang out into space, what happens? And the conclusion for most people will be, that stick just flies away. But if we will be willing to look at things with the right mindset and approach, we might discover things that we never knew we never knew. It also reminds us that being willing to ask questions mirrors our own journey in life. Embracing curiosity can lead us to make profound discoveries about ourselves and the world around us. And if we never ask the question, what does God want me to do in this particular situation, we'll never have the answer to who it is that we're created to be. And the act of throwing a boomerang and waiting for it to come back, it also involves patience and persistence. I hate that word, patience. I don't have it. Don't like to have it. Never pray for it. But the Bible says we need to. Because when you throw that boomerang out, there is that moment, that heart-dropping, sickening moment where you know if it doesn't come back, you're going to have to go find that stick you threw. It also means that if you throw the boomerang and it doesn't come back, maybe you threw it wrong. Or in space, it would mean it's not coming back at all. But at the end of the day, staying with it requires a patience, and figuring out how and why it works matters. See, there is a scientific achievement that the boomerang experiment allowed the astronauts to have. But that experiment, it seems silly in a confined area, also screams volumes about our journey through life. I told you the reasons, told you what happened. And so that means that sometimes your life defies explanation, defies the assumptions, and defies even the things that we thought were possible. So it did happen. Astronauts have played with a boomerang in space, and it has come back. And now you know. I look forward to joining you in our next episode.